All right, I'm going to
Welcome.
admit them all.
Okay, perfect.
Give them just a moment.
We will give it one more minute for additional people to get in the room, and then I will get started. Please know that we are recording this. I know Carolyn is going to turn off cameras and mute everyone, but feel free to do that yourself if you would like. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Before we dig in, a quick introduction. I'm Leslie Witowitz, the Development Manager at Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, or CMJTS for short. I know, host of acronyms when you work with workforce development. We receive funding from Minnesota Paid Leave to provide outreach, education, and technical assistance to employers and employees. And we've partnered with the Minnesota Manufacturers Association to build a web platform and bring these services to you. So that's who we are. Now, let's talk about what paid leave means for you as an employer and how to get your workforce ready. And if some of you, which I hope actually most of you, are already up and running with paid leave, that is wonderful. For you, a lot of this will be a refresher. So think of it as a chance to double check what you've already put in place. One quick housekeeping note before we start. Please feel free to drop your questions into the chat at any point as we go. I'll do my best to get to them at the end. And if there's anything I can't answer on the spot, I'll follow up with the paid leave team to make sure you get a solid answer. This slide lays out the roadmap we'll follow today. Getting ready for paid leave comes down to 4 steps. First, learn how the program works and who it covers. Second, set up your accounts. Third, prepare your workplace and update your policies. And fourth, administer leave when an employee needs it. Everything is also available on paidleave.mn.gov. This kicks off step 1, where we get grounded in the basics. Before you can prepare your business, it helps to understand a few fundamentals. When your employees might actually need paid leave, who is covered under the law, and what the benefits and job protections look like. We'll answer each of those questions over the next few slides. Here's the big picture. Minnesota's paid leave law was passed in 2023 and officially launched on January 1st, 2026. At its core, it does 2 things. It gives people job-protected time off, and it provides payments from the state when someone needs to care for themselves or a loved one. It's funded through premiums that employers and employees share. We'll get into exactly how that split works a bit later. The qualifying conditions must last more than 7 days, and a healthcare provider or designated professional must certify the need for leave and the amount of time. A person may take up to 12 weeks for medical leave, for their own mental or physical illness, for treatment or preventative care. A person can take up to 12 weeks for family leave for covered events, such as bonding and parental leave, to bond with a new child after birth, foster care, or adoption, safety leave to address domestic assault, sexual abuse, or stalking, caring leave to care for family members who have mental or physical illness, need treatment, or preventative care, and active duty leave for a family member on active duty or notified of an impending order. In a single benefit year, an individual can take a maximum of total of 20 weeks of combined medical and family leave. Across all these covered events, a healthcare provider or designated professional must certify the need for leave and the amount of time off required. Paid leave covers a very wide range of workers: full-time, part-time, seasonal, temporary, student workers, agriculture workers, even owner officers who draw a salary. The key takeaway is that coverage is broad, so assume most of your workforce is included. There are a few groups who aren't automatically covered, but can choose to opt in, like independent contractors and the self-employed. And there is a small set that can't participate at all, such as federal government and railroad employees. Coverage is based on where someone works, not just where your business is located. The rule of thumb: an employee is covered if they did at least half of their work in Minnesota last year, or if they didn't hit 50% in any single state if they live in Minnesota. There are a few scenarios on the right. The first is my business is located in Minnesota, but some of my employees live in Wisconsin. Then you would look to, did your employee work more than 50% of their year in Minnesota? Or do they live in Minnesota? So it is going to vary, and it will be very specific to each employee. And there may be more questions, and some of those may not be so easy to decipher, but that is where you can reach out to paid leave staff and get the information to understand if that employee is covered or not. And if they do work in multiple states but live in Minnesota, most likely they will be covered under paid leave. This is what your employees actually receive. Paid leave replaces up to 90% of someone's usual wages, and it is capped at $1,423 a week based on the 2025 numbers. The formula is intentionally progressive, so lower wage workers get a higher share of their pay replaced. One important caveat to flag: if someone is already getting unemployment, workers' compensation, or Social Security disability during that absence, they cannot also collect paid leave for the same time. That is double dipping, and they are unable to do that. Beyond the money, there's job protection, and this matters a lot for retention. An employee who takes family or medical leave has to be restored to the same job or an equivalent one with the same pay, benefits, and status when they return. The practical upside for you as an employer is that people don't have to choose between their job and their family, which helps you hold on to good employees. Now we move into the hands-on part. Step 2, setting up your accounts. There are 2 separate accounts you'll need: one for contributions, which handles the premium and wage reporting side, and one for leave administration, where you'll actually manage employee leave requests. We'll look at each of them over the next few slides. The good news here is you probably already have the first account. Paid leave uses the same unemployment insurance system many employers already use. So you'll report your quarterly wage data through your existing UI account, and that data is what determines employee eligibility. If you don't have a UI account yet, or you're not sure, there is a customer service number right on this slide to help you get set up. The second account is the new one. It's your paid leave administrator account on the paid leave website. This is where you'll review leave applications, see determinations, and support your employees through the process. The encouragement here is to create it now rather than waiting until you have someone on leave, so you're ready when the moment comes. Before you can create that administrator account, you have to designate who your paid leave administrator is, and you do that inside the UI system. Think of this as the person who should be the main point of contact with Minnesota Paid Leave. They'll receive notifications and handle leave requests. It's a quick step, but it has to happen first. So it's worth identifying that person early. Step 3 is where you get your workplace ready. And there are 3 concrete actions to tackle by January 1st. So all of you should have done these already, but if you haven't, please catch up. Decide how you'll split premiums with your employees. Decide how you'll actually provide paid leave and update your workplace policies. We'll take these one at a time over the next several slides, so you'll leave with a clear to-do list or a clear refresh and check your policies list. Action 1 is deciding how to share the cost. The total premium rate is 0.88% of wages applied up to the Social Security cap of $176,000. You can deduct up to half of that premium from the employee paychecks, and the rest is your share, though you're always free to cover more if you choose to. The first premium payments were due April 30th, 2026. If you're a smaller business, you may pay less. Employers with 30 or fewer employees and an average wage at or below 150% of the statewide average get their employer share cut in half. It's worth checking whether you qualify because it can meaningfully lower your cost. Note that this reduction applies to the employer portion. It doesn't change what the employees contribute. And rather than guessing at the numbers, you should use the online calculator. It lets you estimate your 2026 costs and weigh the program costs against its benefits. The example on this slide is a useful reference for someone earning $70,000. The weekly premium comes to about $5.93 each if the employer and employee split it evenly. It's a handy tool for budgeting and for conversations with your team or staff. This is action 2, deciding how you'll actually deliver paid leave to your team. You'll really have 2 paths here. The first is the state plan, which for most employers is the simplest and least expensive option. The state does the heavy lifting of reviewing applications and issuing payments, and you just track everything through a clean, easy-to-use dashboard. The second path is offering your own equivalent plan, where you take on that responsibility yourself, either through a private carrier or by self-insuring. As an employer, you know your business best. So the point of this slide is simply to help frame that decision. And on the next slide, we'll dig into an equivalent plan, how it actually works. Employers can choose to meet their responsibility under Minnesota Paid Leave by providing employees an equivalent plan that meets or exceeds the coverage offered by the state. Employers approved for an equivalent plan will not pay premiums to the state, but have other obligations under Minnesota Paid Leave. Employers must still submit wage detail reports to the state each quarter and comply with requirements to notify employees about the coverage. Employers they were able to begin to apply with the state for an equivalent plan in the spring of 2025. And you can change annually if you want to switch and go to the state or to a private employer or a private coverage plan. If you've decided an equivalent plan is right for you, this is the practical next step. You can apply right through your paid leave administrator account. There's no need to wait. So if that's the direction, it's worth getting the application started early so you can get approved. This is a video. I could not get the sound to work, so I'm not going to play it, but I will have the link available in the slides that will be shared, and you can watch how it walks you through this. And it is available on YouTube. Action 3 is updating your policies, and this is where you have the real decisions to make. You will want to think through your notification requirements, your attendance and call-out procedures, how you'll handle the intermittent leave, and how paid leave coordinates with other payments and other leaves. We will walk through each of these steps over the next few slides so you know exactly which choices are yours to make. Notification is actually a legal requirement, and there are two parts to it. First, you need to hang a workplace poster in English, plus any language spoken by 5 or more of your employees or contractors. These are available on the paid leave website. Second, you have to notify each employee directly. The poster and materials are available on the paid leave website with more languages being added over time. Here's an important point about timing. An employee cannot apply for paid leave until they've notified you, the employer, first. You're allowed to require your usual customary notice and procedures for requesting leave. The same expectations you already have, unless the reason for the leave makes that impossible, like a sudden emergency. So in most cases, your existing call-in norms still apply, and you will want to share that with your employees. And leave doesn't have to be taken all at once. Continuous leave is a single block of time, while intermittent leave, on the second in the right-hand corner, is taken in smaller pieces, say a couple of half days a week over a couple months, or a day a week. For intermittent leave, you get to set some ground rules. You can require, as an employer, a minimum increment, anywhere from 15 minutes up to a full day. And you can decide whether someone may take more than 480 hours of intermittent leave in a benefit year. This slide is about how paid leave interacts with your other benefits. There are two concepts to keep straight: the supplemental benefits, things like sick time, vacation, paid time off, or short-term disability. They can be used to top off paid leave and bring someone closer to their full salary. And as the employer, you decide whether to allow that. Offsets are different. Some payments, if taken during the absence, actually reduce the paid leave amount. A good rule of thumb is that if the payment isn't specifically designated as supplemental, it's probably an offset. Here is a simple visual version of the previous slide. Paid leave replaces a percentage of someone's usual pay, not the whole thing. And other payments can fill that gap. It's a useful way to picture how topping off works for an employee who wants to get closer to their normal paycheck while they're on leave. But again, That is an option that the employer decides to do if they can. Paid leave doesn't exist in a vacuum. It can run at the same time as other job protections. The federal FMLA provides up to 12 weeks of unpaid job protected leave, and Minnesota's pregnancy and parental leave law offers similar protection. These can run concurrently with paid leave, but it's on you as the employer to clarify for employees how the programs stack together, because that is where the confusion tends to creep in. Let's make that concrete with an example. An employee qualifies for FMLA and applies for paid leave 2 weeks after their leave starts. Because the employer chose to run the two programs concurrently and shared that information with the employee, the paid leave clock starts on the same day as FMLA. In this case, the employee uses 2 weeks of PTO up front instead of the state paid leave benefits, and then the state covers the remaining 10 weeks. This is a clear illustration of how the time and the payments fit together across a full 12-week leave. Now we reach step 4, actually administering leave once someone needs it. The hub for all of this is your paid leave administrator account, which keeps your organization in the loop on applications and determinations. Let's look at what that role involves and how the application process flows from start to finish. Let's define the leave administrator role clearly. This is your organization's point of contact for paid leave, and they can do quite a bit from their account. Manage your relationship with paid leave, review applications your employees submit, request an equivalent plan exemption, and apply for small employer assistance funding. Because they touch so much, it's worth choosing someone reliable and making sure they understand the role. The application process is a team effort between 3 parties: the employee, you, the employer, and paid leave itself. Generally, it flows like this. The employee tells you they intend to take leave. They start an application. Your administrator gets notified, and then the employee submits. Knowing this sequence helps you recognize when it's your turn to act and when you're simply waiting on the next step. Once an employee submits, you get a chance to review. As the employer, you'll be able to look over the application and confirm that the information the employee provided is accurate. It's a straightforward verification step, but an important one, since determinations are based on those details being correct. Beyond that initial review, your account gives you ongoing visibility. You can track the status of each leave application as it moves along and view notices from the paid leave division. So rather than wondering where things stand, you'll have a clear, real-time view of every active leave in your organization. Here's a real benefit for small businesses. Starting in 2026, funding is available to help cover the disruption when an employee is out on leave. If you have 30 or fewer employees and an average wage under that 150% threshold, your administrator can apply once an employee is approved. The grant, up to $3,000, can go toward hiring temporary workers, bumping up existing workers' pay for covering, or training someone to fill in. These are reimbursement grant funds. This slide is about how the program is being shaped. Paid leave has been actively gathering input from a wide range of stakeholders: small and large employers, HR professionals, health providers, advocates, and industry groups. They've held nearly 200 engagement sessions, plus user research interviews, all aimed at making the program work better for Minnesotans. The point to land here is this program was built with employer feedback. It was not built in isolation. And that feedback is translated into real decisions. Because employers said what would be easiest, Paid Leave launched wage reporting inside the UI system businesses already know and trust. And they drafted the implementation rules based on input from businesses, workers, and other stakeholders. The message worth emphasizing is that the program has been responsive. Its design reflects what employers actually told them. This, however, is your call to action slide. Encourage everyone to visit the Paid Leave website, where they can read the employer frequently asked questions, run the premium calculator, you can register your account in the UI system and report wages, and sign up to receive updates. The underlying theme is this is a partnership. Your experience as an employer and participation genuinely help make the program work. The Paid Leave staff are constantly adding more information to the site to keep it as up to date as possible. They will continue to add more of the frequently asked questions and answers, and more information will be sent out. We will try to keep our partner, MMA, up to date with information so that those are linked to the Paid Leave site, so you have one place to go and get your answers. I will now dive into a few of the common questions we have received here locally and the answers. So these are the questions employers ask us most often. So let's run through them quickly. First, how do you register as an employer? Just head to the Paid Leave site. There are step-by-step tutorials there that walk you through setting up your account. A second question, what about your premium obligations? There is a calculator right on the website that helps you estimate what you'll owe, so you can plan ahead with confidence. Third, notifying your employees. You'll need to hang the workplace posters, let people know individually, and then a key instruction is that you want to collect verification that each employee was actually notified for both if you're following the state plan and if you are using your own plan. And finally, if you're going with the equivalent plan, be sure to tell your employees which plan you've chosen. And again, get their acknowledgement of it, just like you would with the standard notification. This slide gets into the questions that came up around employee understanding. A common one, what happens when someone holds two jobs? The key thing to remember here is that the employee should notify all of their employers about the leave. If you offer an equivalent plan, you'll also want to clearly communicate how an employee applies through your vendor, since that process looks a little different from the state plan. And in cases where someone works for multiple employers who use different systems, they'd apply to whichever vendor each employer uses, which can mean submitting two separate applications. Each application would reflect the wages earned with that specific employer. The last thing we've heard from employers is a real appetite for more visual tools and plain language explanations to help employees make sense of all this. We have passed on that request to Paid Leave, and any materials they develop, we will share. And just know, if you have staff, your HR staff, or somebody on your team is helping the employees complete their applications, Paid Leave does have on staff individuals who can help employees navigate that process as well. Let's tackle a few benefits and logistics questions that come up a lot. First, can sick time be used alongside paid leave? It's worth clarifying that earned sick and safe time is a separate program. It's run by the Department of Labor and Industry and has been in effect since January 1st, 2024. That's the paid time off Minnesota employers are required to provide for certain uses. So it's distinct from paid leave. If you want to see them, there is a side-by-side comparison of earned sick and sick time and paid leave on the paid leave website. Next, how is paid leave different from FMLA? FMLA is the federal program that gives eligible employees unpaid job-protected leave for certain family and medical reasons. Someone can take paid leave and FMLA for the same reason, but the requirements are different. And as the employer, you can require that the two run concurrently when they're for the same purpose. You just want to communicate that. A big one. Some employees expect to start leave immediately, but it doesn't quite work that way. They are required to notify you before they apply. Ideally, 30 days ahead or as soon as they can. And when they apply, they'll have to confirm that they notified you, the employer, and how. Sometimes their application is the first you'll hear of it. Once it's submitted, you get 7 calendar days to review and weigh in. The clock starts the day after submission and ends at midnight 7 days later. If paid leave doesn't hear back from you in that window, they will go ahead and process. I apologize. I lost my place. They will go on and process that application. And let's be honest for a minute about the bumps employers have run into, because naming them up front actually helps everyone. The biggest one we hear is that the administrative side has been heavier than people expected. Even employers who brought on a private administrator tell us it still takes real time to manage, and employee education in particular eats up more hours than planned for. Mostly because every employee's situation is a little different. So there is no one size fits all answer. Sometimes employers are helping the employees navigate the application process. So again, just know there are paid leave staff willing and able to assist the employees in completing their application. We've also seen cases where someone's paid leave wasn't approved the way they expected after a medical leave, which can catch both the employee and the employer off guard. None of this is meant to scare you. The takeaway is simply that going in with realistic expectations and asking questions early makes the whole thing go a lot smoother. That brings us to the end of my official presentation. Again, thank you for your time and attention. But now this is the moment to open it up for questions. I am hoping to be able to answer them today. If not, please know that I will be submitting questions that I can't answer to the paid leave staff. We will compile the list of questions and answers that will be posted to MMA's webpage on paid leave. My contact information is here, so feel free to reach out to me. You can also complete on the MMA's paid leave webpage, there is a form you can fill out to receive technical assistance, and one of either myself or one of my team will get back to you and we will work to help get your questions answered. Please, before you leave, if you don't have questions and you are done, you got what you needed, please take the time to fill out this survey. It does ask about your successes, your challenges, what still needs improvement. So there is the QR code that takes you to this short survey. We'd really appreciate a few minutes of your time to share what you thought of today's session. Again, what additional information you'd like us to cover at future education events, and the successes and challenges you're running into with paid leave. Everything you share is included in reports that we submit to paid leave staff, so your feedback genuinely helps shape the program and the support we provide. So this is the end of the formal presentation. Carolyn, if you could open it up so people's mics are working, and I don't know if there are any questions in the chat. I do have a few questions that we received as well, but they are not in the official presentation. One question was, we offer short-term disability plan for our employees. Should we continue to offer this plan in addition to paid family medical leave? And this really, it will depend. If your short-term disability plan is more significant coverage than paid leave, you could continue to offer both, but it is not necessary.
Leslie, we have one question from Richard, who is asking, is the benefits year the same as the calendar year?
I believe so, yes.
All right. And you guys feel free to turn on your microphones and cameras if you'd like to ask a question as well.
Another common question, how is paid family medical leave funded? Again, it is funded through those premiums that are split by the employer-employee. Those who are self-employed can choose to opt in. They do have a different premium, and they do need to pay in for 2 years. That does not mean that they can't take the leave prior to full 2 years of paying in. But if they take that leave, say within the first year, they do need to make sure that they pay in for 2 years to have that leave covered. How do employers report and pay their premiums? Again, paid leave partnered with UI to collect quarterly wage detail reports in a system familiar, and you can pay premiums to the state every quarter through your employer account at ui.mn.gov. Employers must also notify new employees about paid leave within 30 days of hire. Again, how does paid family medical leave coordinate with Family Medical Leave Act and existing PTO and sick leave policies? FMLA is a federal program, and again, it entitles eligible employees to take unpaid job-protected leave for certain family and medical reasons. Minnesota paid leave may be taken for the same reason, but the requirements, again, are different. Employers can require that the leave taken under paid leave run concurrently with leave taken for the same purpose under FMLA. If an employee is taking agency time off sick leave, be clear with them that it is part of their FMLA time that is running concurrently with the Minnesota paid leave time. So then it would reduce the time available for them to be on Minnesota paid leave. It all comes to how you write your policies and really ensure that you explain your policies to your employees. I only have independent contractors working for me. Do I need to register for paid leave? Independent contractors, self-employed individuals, and tribal nations are not automatically covered by paid leave, but again, they can opt in and fill out and pay their own premiums. Does an employee need to work a certain number of hours or months before becoming eligible? To receive payments from paid leave, the person must apply and be approved for leave and have earned at least $3,900 in the last year. To be approved, again, the individual must experience an event that qualifies for paid leave and to have the leave certified by a healthcare or service provider. Can employees take both FMLA and paid leave separately, resulting in more than 12 weeks off? Minnesota paid leave does allow for more than 12 weeks off. You can take 12 for family and 12 for medical, but up to a 20-week max per year. And it needs to be in the agency's policies and shared with your employees. Can employees opt out? And that is a no. If an employee works in a covered employment in Minnesota, they are automatically enrolled in paid leave and cannot opt out. Are employees responsible for their insurance premium costs while on paid leave? Generally, your health insurance and other group insurance plans must continue while you're on leave. You and your employer will be responsible for the share of healthcare and other group insurance premiums that you each normally pay. So generally, employees remain responsible for their normal share of health insurance and other premiums while on leave. And that is up to you, the employer, how you collect those funds. It can be you're asking them to pay upfront their portion. It could be something that you recoup when they return to work, but it will need, or they pay you a check monthly when those premiums are due. And again, the law requires continuation of coverage, but employers should address collection procedures in your leave policy. Collecting the employee share in advance, arranging for them to send in their payments, or recovering missed amounts through payroll deductions when they return. And how does an employer know if employees are taking advantage of it? As an employer, it's really not up to you to decide. Provide the information to the employee, let them apply, and if you feel it's fraudulent, there is a spot on the paid leave website where you can go on and report the situation. And that is a summary of the questions that I had received prior that did not make the slides. Are there any more in the chat, Carolyn?
I am not seeing anything at the moment.
All right. Well, if you don't feel comfortable to put your question in the chat, when you fill out the survey, there is an opportunity for you to add those questions. I feel like the most technical assistance we've provided have really been now to those very situational questions. If somebody, do they get paid vacation time while they're collecting paid family leave? It would automatically, if it's during their leave schedule, their rate of pay would follow the same. So yes, they would get paid holiday leave, but it's at that same rate of pay that they would normally get their paid leave. If they are off and the 4th of July happens to be in that time frame, they would get paid as normal. So I hope I covered a lot of the questions. The survey will give you an opportunity to add in if there are specific topics that we need to cover to dive into more around specific questions around paid leave. If it's on equivalent plans, please let us know. We are here to help. We will be out at events as well promoting, but if you need direct technical assistance, go to MMA's website, complete the form, or reach out to me directly. or you could leave a note in this survey presentation. This will be available on the MMA's website, and any question and answers that come out of this after, we will also be posting to that website. Otherwise, that's the end. Again, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. And I do appreciate any comments, feedback on the content, how you thought the presentation went today, because we want to ensure that this is beneficial to you as an employer and that we're meeting your needs.
All right. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
We'll get that
Thank you,
recording up
everyone.
on the website and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks
Thank you
all.
guys. Bye.
Bye.